Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am your humble host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers, and I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite Creator. And I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you will accept and receive the healing, the gifts, the knowledge, and the wisdom of the universe. Thank you so much. And to all of the subscribers out there, blessings to every one of you. I keep getting new subscribers every month. I thank you so much. You bring me joy in the fact that somehow that my message may mean something to you. And in doing so, it's been a while since I've done a video, and I try to look through the news, and which I'm always scanning, to try to come up with appropriate topics and so forth. And one of the things that's going around now very highly is fear. Okay. And I've talked about fear before, and fear comes in many disguises. And in the title of this video, I discuss about, how we can look at the depths, how we can overcome the depths. And I left it at depths. The depths of what? The depths of our fear. And fear, it depends on where you want to look at fear. So let's just start with a category, and we'll just go from there. But there are different categories of fear. Now, there's no names to them, but you can say, well, I'm afraid of the dark, or I'm afraid of something here, or then there are natural catastrophes. I'm afraid a tornado will hit, or I'm afraid a hurricane, or I'm afraid of an earthquake, depending on where you live. Or it's political. Well, I'm afraid that the Democrats are going to screw things up, or I'm afraid the Republicans are going to do something. There's that fear. Excuse me. Of course, just before I start the live stream, I start to have a nose issue. But anyway, hi, Breaking Dawn. But Breaking Dawn and I were earlier discussing the fact that, but we were talking about fear, those things that may make you afraid or whatever. Hi, Ian. How are you? Blessings to you. So it depends on where you want to put fear, seriously. Some people are afraid, well, I want to start a diet, but I'm afraid I won't succeed. Or, I'm going to want to try a new job, but I'm afraid to lose to something or other. Or, fear comes in so many ways. But here's the bottom line to what may turn out to be a long discussion on this. But the idea, though, that any kind of fear eats at your spirit, it eats at your soul, it uses up your energy, it will give you ulcers, it will make you nuts, it will make you go to the doctor for pills. That, fear in itself brings on anxiety, and there's all kinds of stuff. Now, there are things in the world that we maybe kind of should be wary of, but wary versus fear. Now, I've lived my life in fear. So I can say from a positive, my personal experience, fear has literally eaten me alive. I used to have ulcers and problems like that. And I had to sit down. And one of the fears is you have to sit down with yourself and be honest with yourself. There's fear in that. People are having problems these days facing themselves. You may be the cause of your own problems, but they fear actually looking in the mirror and going, maybe I should change something about my life. Maybe I'm still going through the same rat race. I've known people over the years. We talk, we have things, and I've noticed that some of these folks they're repeating themselves, and they haven't used the wisdom of their own lifetime to change. They're still going through a very similar pattern over and over and over again. And it's like, wait a minute. So is it fear of change? It's fear of looking at yourself and going, wait a minute, maybe there's something about me I should change. My attitude, maybe how I look at things, or maybe I shouldn't get so upset, or I shouldn't get overwhelmed, or whatever it may be. But there are folks who have the fear factor is extreme. And right now, with the virus thing and this thing and the war and the politics, and the fear ratio right now is very high. So you got to wonder, are the golly, I don't want to give it power, but those folks in charge of the chaos, we'll say, to put it simply, them folks in charge of the chaos are working overtime. They got chaos going on big time. So we need to, within ourselves, have enough common sense to stay out of the fear game. We need to, of all, and now they're Breaking Dawn and I were talking about this earlier, and I mentioned, I said, during this last season, the holiday season, and I've done a video too about it, about doing spring cleaning and looking at things within yourself and going, there's some minor things that I can change within my own self, that it takes a little bit of fear factor out of, because, well, I'm afraid if I don't do this, or what happens if I don't do something, and the really simple things. But as human beings, it's almost like we seek it out. Now let's think about this for a minute. Yes, we're humanoids, most of us. Yes, we're crossbreeds and half breeds and all kinds of genetically modified and whatever, and we're still being modified because they were spraying the skies again with something today. So you can bet we're being changed as we speak. But that's a fear people are literally getting eaten alive by the fear of that. And I got to say, every time I see a plane go by that's spraying stuff, I just go, crap, here we go again. But I have to stay focused on my core value. I have to stay focused and listen. I'm just still going to do the best I can do with me. I'm going to try to still take care of myself and eat well, take my vitamins, which I forgot to take earlier, but I'll do. But so there's fear in that. So how do we overcome it? We become the observer. And I've talked about this before, but it's really important right now, because the more we allow ourselves to be emotionally attached, involved, or triggered by these events, the more we lose ourself. Our spirit gets drained, our energy gets drained, and whether or not there's something out there that's sucking on this energy, that's not the issue. The issue is that regardless of what's going on, the fear will drain you. Now, we are inbred with this fear since caveman. Okay, it's the fright or flight. It's, do you jump up and down? There's an alligator going to eat me. There's a woolly booger. There's something in the world's going to harm me. Okay, that's different. We don't normally face that anymore, but it's still in our genes. So if we don't have a dinosaur trying to eat us, or a buffalo chasing us down, and we're going to get trampled, because we're trying to get dinner for me and the kids, out on the prairie, I'm thinking, natives and so forth, but, with spears and rocks and stuff, and thinking, we got it made. But that fear, that adrenaline, the thing, if we don't have it in our lives, it almost seems like we seek it somehow. Now, I am an adrenaline junkie in that, I like to go down in the river and paddle. I don't mind it if there's a little snag and I got to do a little heavy thingy. It makes me exert myself. It makes me um, more alive, in that I'm doing something that's really, strenuous or exciting or adventurous or whatever, down on the river or something like that. But with that, though, I also have to overcome fear. The fear that, wait a minute, this is a really tight spot. Can you make it back through here? Can you do this? Well, if I'm too afraid, and I have been there, I've talked about it in previous videos about a year or so ago, where I was on a river and I found myself in a fearful situation, and I had to stop and go, oh, stop it. How many times have I been on this river? Daytime, nighttime, what am I afraid of? It was so silly, but there was some kind of fear and it was really dead gum strong. And I had to overcome it on the spot. And I did, and have since then. But the fear, and I was sitting there going, what am I afraid of? I don't understand this. Well, people in their daily lives have so many things to be afraid of. Are the kids going to get off to school? Are the grandkids going to be okay? Or is such and such going to happen? Is my sister going to be okay when our surgery on Monday? Is this going to happen? Is that going to happen? You know, or pick a fear. But if I focus on the fear of it and oh my God, then that stirs up all this adrenaline. Your stomach starts churning. You start feeling ill. You start, things start triggering. And that is what takes you to the depths. And that's what I mean in the title of this video is that overcoming the depths. The first thing you do is realize that it's there. From the observer point of view, without emotion, you look at it and go, oh, there's something fishy here. I need to keep an eye on this, but I need to keep my emotions out. It's like when I go to the swamp. I know there I know there are snakes and things that live in the swamp, but I'm careful. I'm wary, but I'm not fearful. I have been in the past, been in places where like scared the crap out of me to want to walk through a certain place or something. But I also have to understand, listen, how many years have I been in the woods? Not that you can't step on a snake or something happen, but fear will get you in trouble quicker than anything. What will save you is being mindful and wary and aware. Okay. So when you're aware of the situation as the observer, you also maintain your own power, you maintain your own structure. When I had an incident where I cut myself on my finger and I was down on the river and I panicked for about a minute. And I realized you can't panic. We've been through things before. Yes, I'm on the river. No, I don't have the first aid kit. Oh, holy crap. But wait a minute. We've been in situations similar. Calm down. That's the first thing you do is calm down, find something to do, focus on the thing and the da 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 da. Wrap my finger up. Everything was fine. Paddled home. I'm good. But the first thing you want to do is panic. The first thing you want to do is fear comes into you. Oh my God, I'm bleeding. I'm holy crap. I don't have the, oh my God, I'm by myself. Oh my God, fear. So the first thing you do, you usually have to say, stop this, because fear will take control where you need to be in control, whether it be spiritually, mentally, physically, whatever you're afraid of, whatever realm. And there's so many different realms. So it's not just one fear, it is fear in general. So, but when you recognize, wait a minute, I'm being fearful. Now, does that mean, wait a minute, let me change my thought pattern? Maybe I should be wary of that, but not in fear of it. It's a slightly different modification of how you look at things, but it takes you out of that flight or fright situation. It takes you out of the that fear. Oh my God, I'm gonna, I'm gonna die here. I mean, literally, not figuratively speaking, but fear should be like somebody's holding a knife to you and you're fighting for your life. A little bit of fear could come in there. But there are other things though that people are afraid of. It's all in their mind, literally. Now, if you're afraid of heights or you're afraid of water, there are things that you can do to overcome these things. And it's not that you should go out and go mountain climbing to overcome your fear of heights, but you might learn how to, with help, climb up a small step ladder, or maybe go to the mountains and maybe not, walk out on some trail and overlook a cliff, but you get someone used to being up around heights or something and not being paranoid all the time. If around water, go wading, get in up to your ankles, then go to your knees, then go to your waist, splash, have fun, understand that you can learn how to float, understand that water it is just water, and we're made of a lot of water. So, but the thing is though that with this, you can overcome certain fears. You can put things into perspective. And when you realize that it's the fear that's taking over all of your other senses, regardless of the fear, it overcomes you and it makes you wacky. You have to stop and go, wait a minute, hang on here, wait a minute. Oh, there's a bug. Hang on. It is a bug. It's over there. Is there a tarantula on my shoulder getting ready to bite me? No. But there's a spider on the floor. Difference. Which should I be afraid of? The one on my neck. The one on the floor, I should be wary of. You know what I'm saying? So, what we choose, so as the observer, we can choose to be deadly afraid, fearful, or wary. I'm aware of the situation, wary. Oh, well, that could be potentially crap. That could hurt me. I should not walk on this board with a bunch of rusty nails sticking up. I might step on one and get, typhoid fever, tetanus, something. Anyway, so, but in the fear is that it's not about the board. Is the board strong enough, or blah 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 blah. So we should be wary of certain dangers without being fearful. Because if you're afraid of something, you will make a mistake. It's Murphy's law. Okay. So, but in life, we have to take a step back at our life and go, wait a minute. Am I'm worried about something. There's fear in there. If you're worried about something the next day, there's a fear factor in it. Every bit of worry is some kind of fear. They're linked. Okay. If you're worried about something, you're afraid something might happen, right? So if somebody says, "No, I'm not afraid of anything," well, then why are you worried? Well, and they'll throw in, "I'm afraid something," blah blah blah, and which when you say, "I'm afraid," fear. Oh, wait a minute, hang in there. So people gloss over it and want to call it something else. But fear is a factor in so much of our lives. And with so much more going on, of course, with the flu virus. But listen, in 1911, 12, and maybe 14, I can't remember, back in the turn of the last century, they had a big flu epidemic. There are graveyards around here where 3 and 4 family members died within 2 days of each other from the flu influenza back then. And we talk about this virus from China and this and that. Listen, this ain't the first time. Whether it's been initiated, they came up with it, don't know. Is it morphing? Can some of us die from it? Yeah. But this is not the first time. So how fearful should we be? Let's look back into history and say, we've been through similar types of events before. Could this be potentially bad? Yes. So be wary, be mindful. But should you be afraid of it? That's going to kill you. All right. So being afraid and doing all these crazy things and all this other stuff, take precautions. Be careful. When I go in the woods, I'm always careful. So if you're going to go out in a lot of public and maybe you live in a big city and there are a lot of different nationalities and people traveling, then maybe you should be careful about washing your hands and who you're in contact with in small areas. And maybe you could plan differently until some of this maybe sort of blows over and hopefully it doesn't get worse. But to be fearful of it is just plumb dumb. Can't do that. Please don't go there. Be careful, be mindful, be wary, but the fearful factor, stay out of it because that will make you sick. So you know, you can have psychosomatic type symptoms because you worry about them. Oh my God, they weak chest and have trouble breathing, and there are some people who will actually convince themselves, almost in a hypochondriacal kind of way, to where they can't breathe. So it's like, but that's from fear and the overreaction. We got to stay out of that. But we do need to be careful, mindful, and always wary. And as I've said before in other videos about becoming the compassionate observer, watch within yourself, keep yourself strong, do the best you can for you, because if you're sick or whacked out, you can't help nobody else. If you're afraid all the time, you're just going to pass that fear on. And we all need to be strong for a bunch of reasons. But it it's not so much about being strong, is it's just stupid, it's plumb dumb to be fearful all the time. It's a waste of energy, it's a waste of thought, it's a waste of our talents, it's a waste. So, and there's probably critters out there that are licking this stuff up, going, yum, yum, yum. This is some of the best fear I've ever had. Let's not give them that opportunity if that's actually truly happening. And that's possible. Which brings me to the fear of the supernatural and the spiritual. And Breaking Dawn and I were talking about certain things here that we have observed recently. We've observed over the years and different things, but recently there's been like a lot of stuff just like going by, and it's like, what the hell was that? And one of the interesting things is that simply because something looks odd doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad, malevolent, with an M, malevolent. So it's like I seen something weird out the window the other day, and my first reaction a year or two ago and more, I'd have went, "Holy crap! What the hell was that?" And my reaction this time was like, "Now isn't that interesting?" Hmm. But I didn't feel it. I wasn't afraid. It didn't. It looked odd, but it wasn't necessarily scary. I didn't get any malevolent, nasty, bad, evil kind of wicked vibes from it, even though it was odd. And whether or not it was my imagination or not, I was like, But I could have went into a fear factor with it. I could have spiritually, mentally went into a totally other area, which I am guilty of from in my own past. So I would have sat there and went, "Oh my God, I seen this creepy thing out the window. Oh my God, what was it?" That'd have been me. Was me. Now I've had to take uh, uh, I have to take my own advice, and have been, to become the observer. So I saw it, instead of being triggered to overreact, oh my God, blah, 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 let fear overcome me, I stayed the observer and went, well, it was just strange, not bad. I've seen some bad things that were camouflaged as good. So it's like, well, there you go. So not everything that's odd looking or different. Um, and if you see something, there seems to be a lot of stuff poking its head out from the between the different realms, spirit, um, different dimensions. I I don't know, but Breaking Dawn and our experience has been there's some stuff going on, not necessarily bad, but there's some stuff going on. And so, with that said, though, but should we? And the answer is no. Should we allow our fear, though, overcome us because there's odd things that we've both been experiencing, sometimes at the same time? But the thing is though, but if we let our fear overcome us, then we lose our strength. Because then we're fearful. Then we want to panic, or maybe, oh, I'm drowning, I'm in water, I slipped it over my head or something. And you want to panic when all you got to do is stand up or, kick your feet a little bit and you're okay. So we can't let fear be our first reaction. And we obviously cannot, please, don't let fear be our overreaction to something that may not be worthy of that at all. But so, and as our discussion, just before I started this video, we were talking, and I was mentioning, the best thing we could do is just be strong, and we were agreeing with that fact. So, and to keep an eye on stuff, if something evil comes our way, I surely want to know. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here in my chair and be afraid that something evil might come, that one of these entities that I see might be evil or might be and bad, wicked, mean, and nasty. You know what I mean? I can't do it. Ain't going to do it. I have in the past, and I'm learning from my experiences to not allow fear to take me over. I will conquer fear simply by noting, that's one of those things. My first reaction in the past would have been first of fear, apprehension. Now I'm like, it's different. So, my advice to all of you, and as a shaman in training, all of us, because the more you become aware of spiritual things, the more there are things that are going to be way different than you've ever experienced before. And your first reaction may be a fear. Well, that could push an entity away that may be actually a good one. It's just different, something you've not experienced or whatever before. So, but if your first experience is fear, dogs will pick up the fear in a heartbeat. Other critters and creatures and entities pick up that fear. So if we are wary, mindful, careful, that's okay. But the fear factor, it changes our chemistry, our balance, it shows up in our aura, and it's really not good for us in the long run. So, the things that we need to do is remember, and I keep talking about this, about our core value. Keep yourself strong, keep your chakra, keep your energy, keep your vitamins in you, make sure your pH is good, keep you well. Keep an eye on that fear. And I'm not saying, well, don't pay attention to it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying don't allow the fear to overcome your common sense. Wait a minute. Is the thing over there and wherever affecting me? Not right at the moment. I will keep an eye on it. I will be wary, but I'm damn sure not going to be. And I used to live in fear all the time. Oh my God, the war is going to start. Oh my God, it's Armageddon again. Oh my God, there's this happening again. How many times have we been through this fear factor? How many times has chaos been thrown at us, the general populace on this planet? And how many times we're still here, regardless of all the chaos they wish to portray, push on us, shove on us, put on us. Now, there are people in other places on this planet that are suffering. Don't get me wrong. But for us who are not attached to that, to live in fear because they are wrong, we change our fear into wariness, keep an eye on this, but then we send our positive prayers to those people who really need it. But we keep our fear to ourselves, because otherwise we will populate the fear. So if this somebody's actually fearful because their city was just bombed, or a neighborhood nearby, or it's in their country, them folks got some fear going on. Us, we should not feel that same fear. Now, as a global thing, because there's this internet and our connection, and there is the quantum. So as fear grows in other places, we have it, it's out there. We can pick it up. Our fear can be felt, their fear can be felt, especially if we're fearful of the same thing. It's sort of like those of us in the League of Like-Minded Beings. We all have these same kind of thoughts. Well, doesn't fear? It's out there in the quantum with the rest of this stuff. So can we pick up the people's fear in Lebanon or Iran or something? Yes. Should we pick up their fear? No. That's the answer. Because if we pick up their fear and then we become fearful, then that spreads fear. That's not what we should be about. Our mission on this planet, if nothing else, should be to at least bring calmness in whatever way we can. But to spread fear, how many of us say, well, I signed, my soul contract says I signed up here to spread fear to all my fellow man, and anybody I meet, I'm going to spread fear and terror and panic and chaos. That's what I'm here for. Really? I don't think. I know there probably are some people who signed up for that. Some of them, these trolls, can be pretty nasty at times. But to the point, though, the real honest thing is, though, that but most of you and I, we didn't sign up for that. Most of our friends, they didn't really sign up for it. But the fear and their whatever, and fear comes in so many levels. So it's like, well, if they're panicked about something, it means they're afraid of something. Something is there to panic them. They're afraid of something. Something's not doing right. Maybe they've been hiding something that they haven't told someone, and secretly it's been making them panic. But they won't tell anybody. It's a secret. But in the long run, if folks would just take a look at themselves first and go, wait a minute, why am I afraid of this? Wait a minute, I've lost control. Wait a minute, I got mad, or I got this, or I overreacted, or I sent an email or a message. You know, when, wait a minute, maybe we should keep an eye on things and just pay attention, and share, I'm concerned about this, but oh my God, this shit, I'm like, and this, I'm not to say that this virus thing isn't something we should keep an eye on, but this has happened before over every 100 years or so. Another one comes through. Now, whether or not it's going to be killer, I remember 20 or 30 years ago, some kind of chicken flu, and there was sort of a mini pandemic back then. A lot of folks got sick before they came up with the flu vaccine. I don't take flu vaccines anymore. They do not agree with me. I get sick after them and have the flu. Since I stopped taking flu vaccines, I haven't had the flu. I've had colds and been sick with a respiratory ailment, not the flu, since I stopped taking the shots. So people who are wanting to run out and get a shot right away is, I think they're inviting trouble. Just saying. My personal view on this. Ain't talk, you know what I mean? But fear will drive people to do things that if they were to stop and think about it from an observer point of view, maybe I should not rush out and do this quite yet. Maybe I should just keep myself healthy and be wary and blah, 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 blah. Do the common sense thing and see what happens, you know? But if you go out there and they inject you with a live virus, ding, guess what? There goes population control. Just saying. 2 cents worth. But what happened way back in the day, people just spread it between people. And they were still, they're down here in the South, they were still in the horse and buggy days. It was the age of the Model T. There, a lot of, most of the roads around here were just dirt roads, 2-lane tracks. There were still fords in the river kind of thing. There weren't even bridges in certain places, and if the creek was up, you couldn't cross. You'd have to go 15 miles out of your way, or you just didn't go. Some people got stuck on one side of the river for a day or two and stayed with friends back in the old days. But the flu was spread. They didn't have airplanes and all this other stuff, They didn't have vaccinations and people that, they got sick just between people and people. So should we be fearful? If it's going to come, it's going to come. The best thing to do is stay healthy and understand, that's the most important part. Be healthy. Try to be smart about it. Hey, Millie Cow, how are you? Don't let fear get in your head. That's what I've been talking about. Some fear will happen naturally sometimes, and that's okay. Agreed. Live with fear, not in fear. Don't even live with fear. Just keep an eye on it. That's my philosophy with Millie Cow. Be wary, not in fear. Be cautious, not in fear. But everybody's got their own limit on fear and what fear is, and the spiritual fear. And since you just got here, I've already talked about some of these things. Right, I knew what you meant. Millie Cow, thank you. Good to see y'all, and blessings to everybody. Ian, I don't think I said hi to everybody. Somebody else was in earlier, I think. But anyway, I'm trying to stay on topic with this about the fear thing, to get the point across and not make the video too long. But you know me and my long-windedness. But a lot of times it needs a little bit further explanation, is because people people will worry about things. Well, I'm not really afraid, but you're yes, you are. You've got to admit it. And that's one of the things, they're afraid to admit that maybe they are fearful of something, and maybe they shouldn't be. Maybe it's that they should just be cautious or wary, or whatever. It's like, well, I hope tomorrow works out well. We're going to have a party, well, I'm worried about something. That means you're afraid something's going to go wrong. That's fear. Hey, Cherry, how are you? Blessings. And good morning here. It's 2:13 in the morning time here on the eastern coast down here in southwest Georgia. And continued blessings, everybody. And good to see you all, and hope that everything is as well as possible in your world. But with the fear factor going on and the chaos seeming to be ramped up, the last thing we need to do is allow it to get into us and affect our lives. We've already got enough stuff to deal with, and instead of allowing other fears from other places to agitate us. Now, I got to say that there's not as much fear mongering going on, but there is a lot of concern in some of the YouTube videos and stuff about the virus and things. And yes, let's be careful. Yes, let's pay attention. But should we sit at home and be cringe? No, we should not. Please be careful. If you can plan a trip that in another way or something, or not go to China right now, well, then do something else. Change your plans. But to the point about the fear thing and all the other fears going on, the list goes on about what you can be afraid of. But as a shaman in training in the spirit world, which is where I'm going to try to focus this last part, because there's all these worldly things that we're fearful of, but these worldly things steal our spiritual energy. So, how can we become better people at all, especially those of us who are wishing to be spiritually better, at least spiritually stable in my position? I don't want to go off and be half cocked. Hi, Ian. I think that's who I missed earlier. Nope, I missed somebody else. Anyway, blessings, everybody. But so I've lived my life mostly in fear of one thing or another. So I'm guilty of this. But as a shaman in training, I finally realized, wait a minute, I don't have to be involved with the fear. There is another point of view to this. I can be wary of fear. I can be wary of dangers, but do I have to live in fear? No. The answer is a simple no. But also in these last few weeks with the holidays and introspection, and my video I did about spring cleaning and things, what I'm worried about here, and tiny little things like, for example, I just got off my dead ass the other day, and I finally got the heater, this it's a big cast iron stove that's been sitting in my yard for the last 2 months, because I was afraid to put it in, and what if it didn't work right, and could I hook it up, and was it too, screw it. I put it in yesterday. We're all good. It was a good thing I did. But so, I'm still dealing with the fear thing myself on a daily basis on little tinky shit. But the bottom line is, it's stupid. No, go ahead and work through the problem. So I did, but I realized that I was dealing with fear. Well, is it too heavy? Well, you've dealt with heavier things before. Well, then how did you do it? So I just had to just take the fear part out, that I was putting it on myself, and say, wait a minute. I can take it off of here, and I'll move it over here, and I'll roll it like this. And no, I don't have to do. I'll move this over here, and this will slide out. And bam, it was done. Breaking Dawn helped me. And we got the thing in, got the legs on, stood it up, put a fire in it, and boy, does it heat. Oh my God, it's great. Worth every bit of 550. But anyway, but if there's a fear that was yesterday, day before, the last week, the last 2 months, this thing's been sitting in my yard. Fear, my own. But spiritually now, with this, there are a lot of stuff going on. So rather than, oh my God, I'm being attacked and I'm this, no, that puts you, that may be true. But to the point though, how do you deal with it? How should you deal with it? And let's all give thanks to Bob, by the way, because I need a coffee break. and say blessings and thank you, Bob. It's been a little jittery. I noticed the camera's been changing colors on me. So, but thank you for allowing us to be here, Bob, and YouTube, and all you other good folk. But in looking at myself and internally in the spiritual thing, because ultimately being afraid of that, of what I'm going to do with the stove, and can I get it in here, and all the crap that I put on myself, I realized it was confusing me spiritually. And it's one of those things, holy crap, why am I letting this, why am I afraid of this? I used to deal with this stuff all the time. I used to just go up and do this and blah blah blah, and it was done. I never worried about it. Why am I worried now? Why am I afraid? What makes me afraid now? Well, I'm 67, I'm older, my back hurts, but hey, I still know how to do it. Guess what? Got her done. So where was the fear in it? My own self inadequacies. I built the fear myself. Now, spiritually, and I spoke about this a few minutes ago, but it is very important for us to understand in the quantum realm of thinking. So we are already members of the League of Like Minded Beings. So, because of that factor, all the fear that's being generated and the chaos, that fear is in the quantum right now. And we're picking it up. The Schumann resonances, planet Earth is wobbling still, by the way, as our observations with Breaking Dawn and I from here in South Georgia just to toss that in. We're wobbling pretty good bit, about 10 degrees at least. 2 weeks ago, Orion was overhead. Now it's down over here. It ain't the planet. It ain't Orion that's moving. It's us. But anyway, so, Breaking Dawn and I both had sort of predicted that there were going to be some big earthquakes down around Cuba and in the Caribbean and over in that area. And we were late with I was late with what I thought was going to happen by the end of the year. They just happened. Just tossing that in as a little thing because we have discussed some things between us. And now some of the things are actually happening. What does that mean in the grand scheme? Don't know, but I'm not afraid of it. Okay. That's the biggest thing. Oh, well, it was a little late. Okay. It was right where my sort of vision dream took me, both of them, and about the same magnitude, and the fact that there was supposed to have been possible tsunami that was in there. And so it's like, but can I be afraid? No. The best thing I can do is just be prepared for outcomes. Okay. Because the fear of, and there are people who should be afraid. They live in these areas, and in a way, I'm sort of afraid for them, but I'm going to pray for a positive thing, like, that maybe you be safe. Maybe you have a warning to get away from a building if an earthquake starts to topple, something, anything. I pray that these folks will be more prepared, or maybe they can get out of an area. I'll pray for them. But to be fearful for them, to live in fear with them, and to share the fear energy. Now, think about that. So, a catastrophe happens on the planet. We're all, it's sad, it's this. So, we pick up the sadness. So, the more people that are sad, now the globe is encompassed in this sadness energy. What? I'm sensitive to things. So now I wake up one morning and I'm sad for some reason and ain't got a flipping clue why. Well, that's because the rest of the planet is going through a sad state. League of like-minded thinkers, beings, so forth. Wait a minute. So there's this sadness in the quantum, and when 2 or 3 billion people are all feeling the same way, you don't think we ain't picking up on this? Think about it. So it to be wary of it, absolutely. Pay attention, yes. Get caught up in it emotionally, maybe not. Because we don't want to feed that, do we? My answer is I don't think so. Raise your hand if you really want to. I think everybody should be more scared. No. I think everybody should live in more fear. No. I think, nah, no. We don't want to go there. Those of us members of the League of Like Minded Beings, we're trying to look for a positive solution in this. So if we allow the fear in any way to continue to generate, then we're working against ourselves. We're working against it. We're allowing it to control us, even subconsciously. I mean, seriously, there are a lot of tragic things. Now, don't get me wrong. We should pray in a positive way, but stay out of the chaos and fear. Become the be the compassionate observer. Always show compassion, but do we have to be emotionally involved? There's that difference. I know, and it takes practice. And I'm still learning. Trust me, I'm still a shaman in training. But as human beings, as those of us who wish to just be better spiritual folk, by the end of our lives, to try to do the best we can, should we always live in fear? And the answer is absolutely no. Please, because of all the way it steals our energy. And with 7 billion people on the planet and us always being connected and us being able to get fearful all at the same time or have compassion how many times do we all laugh at something at the same time? Kitties playing pianos, there's a smattering of hilarity across the planet. But how many times, you know, there's always the shock of something. It's it's a bombing. It's a fire. Yes, they're all tragedies. But my point is, whoever says, "Oh my God, the Queen's drawers fell down," and we all laughed, when when was the last time a billion people laughed together at the same time? They don't. Intermittently, yes. Tragedy, boom, there's a million people now easily caught up in tragedy and the chaos. I mean, even in the swamps of and back country of Africa now, they want everybody to have a cell phone. I can't see why, but okie dokie. You don't have a car and you still have an oxen and a cart, but you got a cell phone. That's progress. And so there are people all over the planet now who can become a part of the chaos and the fear, even in the wilds of Africa or wherever. Okay, have a phone. You can talk to your the next village over. And that's not what I'm saying. But because it also connects us to the fear factor, which is everywhere. And it's infectious. And we go, oh my God, but what if this happens? Yeah, okay, what if? Oh my God, but what if this? Stop it. Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. Back up a little bit here. Keep an eye on it. What would you do in another situation? Well, I do this. Then, okay, you already know. And if you don't know, then do a little research. You go, well, if I can do this, and that'll help me out, and you know, I can take more vitamin C. I can eat some oranges, and I can keep myself up. I can make sure that my pH is good, and because any kind of virus or anything can't live in a high pH person. If your system's alkaline, stuff don't grow. If your body is mostly acidic, stuff's going to grow really quickly, really fast. And no matter how much vitamin C you take, which is acidic, by the way, ascorbic acid, what do you think? So, but you take a lot of vitamin C, and a lot of oranges and orange juice, you can actually be changing your pH factor when what you're trying to do is get healthy from the vitamin C. You could actually be doing the opposite. So you got to be careful with what you're doing and pay attention, and simple things you can do. Not saying you shouldn't drink orange juice or whatever, but maybe you should add a little baking soda in a drink later on, or take a little bit here and there. Keep your balance. That's all. Keep you healthy. That's all. There are many people who lived through the influenza back in the 19 teens. And, they lived to tell about it. Other people weren't so lucky. Some of those folk were poorly to begin with, not a lot of food back in them days. So some people were getting one good meal a day and a biscuit for breakfast and, a little bit of something for lunch and then a dinner. So, they didn't have the vitamins and they were, eating a lot of collard greens and a little of this and that, and some fat back. And, so their diets weren't anywhere near what we have the opportunity to have now in our own lives. But, folks weren't near as healthy back then, but folks made it through. We're going to make it through regardless of what happens. So, should we be afraid? No. Should we pray for those folks? Should we send good positive energy that it works out in any way or whatever? Yes, because that's the answer. We do the opposite of what fear would want us to do. Fear wants us to join. I ain't joining. I'm gonna keep an eye on you. There's a rattlesnake somewhere on this property. I'm not. I don't really know that, but I'm just saying. Say I've seen a snake. I know and there are snakes here, and pretty big ones too. I know there's a snake on this property. I know it's not a rattlesnake. I know it's a big snake. But so I'm always, if I see a snake, I'm not going to freak out right away because it might be mine. It might be the one that's lived here for years. It's a great big oak snake. It might be um, a rattlesnake because I haven't seen one in years, but to the point, it could be another kind. But the first thing is, I'm not going to jump and be scared. I'm not going to become fearful. I'm going to go, whoa, who are you? What are you? Ah, friend or foe. And if if it's my resident snake, then everything's copacetic. So, but at the same time, I'm walking around the yard. There's a friend of mine who lives down the road a few miles over the other way. Anyway, his grandpa died going out to check the pump one night. Rattlesnake crawled in the yard. Now they live down the hill a ways and back in the woods, sort of like me. But walked outside one night to check something. There was rattling on the chickens and make sure the pump was on for water or something. And stepped on a rattlesnake, bit him. And because he lived so far out in the country, and he was in his late 70s or 80s, he died from the rattlesnake bite. So it's like, yeah, anything could happen. And he'd lived down here all his life, never, was cautious of snakes. And it just happened. If I go outside, am I looking at the ground? Yes. But am I a scaredy cat all the time? I'm like, oh, there could be a snake. No, because you'll stumble over something in a heartbeat and kill yourself. But am I wary? Yes. Am I cautious? Yes. Am I looking? Yeah. Am I paying attention? Sure. You should always do that. But be aware of your surroundings, not be afraid of your surroundings. So, my friends, I will just start repeating myself in some things. Um, Terry says, I can't wait to help others and then be relieved and happy they made it. Hey, Lady Spitfire, blessings to you. Yeah, and the observing is not that we can't participate, and you know this, Cherry, and all y'all out there. We can, we can be observers and participate when it's necessary. And that's what I mean about being a compassionate observer. We have enough compassion that when it's possible for us to help or do something, we do so. Otherwise, we just become we stay the observer and be strong, because to allow ourselves to become a part of the fear, then we spread it, the fear grows, the panic, the chaos, we feed it. Subconsciously, we feed it. But as soon as we become aware of, wait a minute, hang on, this might be one of those fear things, I'm just not going to feed it. As soon as you become aware of it, it changes the whole paradigm. Okay, simply be in for example, the experiments with scientists, there is the observer effect. Boy, the video's just singing in and out, so don't know how this looks weird from my standpoint. Bob, here's another little drink of coffee. I think Bob needs a donut, y'all. but the the observer can change ever so slight, sometimes great, the result of an experiment simply by being an observer. So if there's chaos on the planet, let's just keep it to the planet and not the universe. If we understand that by becoming aware that the fear is a factor and that we can choose to be wary or fearful, we've already changed the paradigm because we are the observer. And our observations of the fear or of the chaos, our reactions to it changes the whole paradigm because we don't spread it. It stays contained. And the more people that that can understand this, so as a shaman and a spiritual person, a shaman in training, once you become the observer and once your observations state that, you know what, I choose not to be afraid of this, but just wary. I choose to not live in fear. I choose to be careful, be cautious, but that's different than living in fear. Hmm. So the fear factor changes, the fear on the planet changes, and we, the members of the League of Like Minded Beings, have altered the paradigm of the planet simply by our observations, our non participation, but our observance. And that's participation. So, my friends, I know that there's a lot of lagging going on, and it's almost an hour. Cherry, Lady Spitfire, Ian, Gerald, Millie Cow, if you are still there, was there for sure. Breaking Dawn, always. Let's see if I missed anybody. Uh, Millie Cow, yep. Cherry, okay. Gerald, Ian, okay. I think I got everybody that at least that I could see here in the chat. Hi, Gerald. Thank you. Yeah, and we need to honestly look at the fear factor thing. And honestly, because there are times when we overreact to stuff and you go, but the thing is we got to look in the mirror and be honest with ourselves. If we can't do that, then we're just going to keep doing what's going on. Lady Spitfire says 7 years ago, today was our F3 tornado. Oh, I know what you mean. Breaking Dawn and I have both been talking about things that happened to us over the years during certain months and how it's made us feel in, um, sort of reliving it, almost deja vu kind of thing and stuff like that. But how I dealt with some of these things this year, totally different from any previous year. And so, sitting here on the other side of it, looking back and making my observations, I realized in the previous years it had a lot to do with fear. Well, fear that this won't work out, or fear of that. And when I stepped back from the fear part and just looked at what's going on, I realized, crap, I'm my worst enemy. I'm making it work. I'm making life a whole lot tougher than it should be. But I honestly think that because we are humanoid type beings, and that our DNA says that we used to be chased by dinosaurs and we used to hunt for and do this thing. There's that fight, fright, flight thing that's in all of us. So if we don't get it because we don't naturally go out and hunt and do certain things, Therefore, we have to find it in order for us to have balance. But the other thing is, we have choice about it. So, my friends, Lady Spitfire, Cherry, it's always good to see you all. Thank you so much. Keep up the good work with what you're doing. And remember, our positive thoughts, because we are observers on this planet, we do make a difference. Hang in there. Have faith. When internet is working better, there's another video I want to do about faith, and that we need to hang in there and never, ever, never give up. So, my friends, keep up the good work. Cosmic hugs to everybody out there. Bob, we know it's your brothers, but help us out here. So I'm going to end with a prayer as always, and I honestly always mean it. To all of you in the chat, to all of you subscribers, and to anyone else who watches this video, I continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you will continue to accept and receive the healings, the blessing, the wisdom, and the knowledge from the universe. I also continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, your relatives, and all of your relations, past, present, and in the future, will learn to accept and receive the healings, the blessings, the knowledge, and the wisdom from the universe. And as always, I continue to pray that each and every one of you will continue to accept, receive, and share the wisdom, the knowledge, the healing, the and the prayers from the rest of the universe. Share this, continue your good work. Cheers to everybody. Geraldine, blessings, Lady Spitfire. I noticed that the oncoming sinkholes, the wet roads that never really dries, that creek that's got a tree going across it, stop and flow, stuff like that I never did before. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, and that's good. The observation is great. Thank you, Ian. Ultraviolet flame. Did you miss it? Yeah, the internet is being spotty. Otherwise, I'd hang out a little longer. But Lady Spitfire, thank you. Ultraviolet, go back and watch. Hopefully, there's been some interesting things I brought up. Hugs to everybody. Cosmic hugs. Cheers to Dante, the 72, the 72 plus. Keep up the faith, my friends. Keep up the faith and never ever give up. Bob, it's really choppy tonight. I love you. Till next time, my friends. Keep it between the ditches. Okay. Thank you all. Be kind, be sweet, and always be compassionate. From South Georgia, Southwest Georgia, Breaking Dawn in the house, and Hawkeye Two Feathers here. Blessings. Till next time.